What's going on, team? So today I'm going to tackle a job that I suspect quite a lot of people have encountered when they fitted aftermarket steering wheels. Horn's not working. This is also an excellent opportunity for me to get rid of this absolutely gopping fake Momo steering wheel fresh out the early 2000s with little NOS horn buttons and some fake carbon fibre. I've picked up this thing, Nardi Classico wooden wheel. It's not in the best condition, but I know I can refurbish this, but it's just a much nicer, more sort of classic wheel to go on this Mark 1. So we're going to get into it now. So first things first, why isn't this horn working? Check the fuse in the fuse box. It's down underneath the dash. Some cars it's under the dash, other cars it's under the bonnet, and they all seem to be good. So I'm just going to start taking this wheel off and seeing what's going on underneath. In this instance, the 8mm bolts. Last one now. Oh, let's see what's. Right, so that could be the problem. The horn switch is not connected to the horn wires. You've got these two here. One's connected into the hub and the other one comes up from the wiring from the horns. So that could be the reason why it's not working. That'd be a quick video. So I've got this new horn button here that I'm going to fit with the new wheel. Let's give that a little test and see if it does the job. No, that hasn't fixed it. Right, well, looks like it's going to be a bit of a longer video then. Right, I just put this wheel back on a sec with a couple of bolts, because there was one thing that I did notice, was that I thought this horn was kind of working intermittently at some point, which I didn't really know what would cause that. And one thing I noticed was that with the horn wires all plugged in here, if I press and hold the button, nothing happens. But if I turn the wheel in certain places, the horn works. Which makes me think there's kind of a bit of a weird loose connection going on down underneath the wheel and potentially inside the console there. So we're going to take a little closer look at that. So down inside the wheel, we've got this big 19mm nut. I'm going to give you a top tip here. What we're going to have to do is pull this steering wheel off. So you undo this nut, but don't take it all the way off, because the wheel is splined onto the shaft that goes to the steering rack. So undo this, leave it on a bit, and then when you give the steering wheel a yank, it's not going to come all the way off and hit you in the face. You can then take the nut off afterwards. Right, so the 19mm nut is now loose, but it's still on. And now I'm going to give this a yank to see if it will come off. Nope. Right, come on, you bastard. Oh, there we go. Oh, so as you can see, that takes quite a lot of force sometimes, and you don't want to pull that off in your face. So now we can remove that nut. There we go. And then that's the wheel off. Let's take a look what's going on here. Now, some of the later MX-5s have got like a clock spring system in the steering wheel here, which when you turn, it turns the wires and things inside it as well and allows the wheel to turn without the wires getting all chewed up inside. These earlier Mark 1s have got a bit of a more basic system in that on the back here you've got this metal ring which goes around the outside. That's attached to that red wire that we saw before, the power. And then that pushes on this little thing here, which I'm guessing provides power, onto the ring. And that's what makes the horn work. And the fact that it's going round, it's only working certain points. What I'm probably going to do is maybe just give this ring a little clean off here. Tidy the end up there, and then see if we can get a more sort of constant horn sound as it goes round. Right, so now we need to pop the wheel back on and bolt it in, because if we don't bolt it in far enough, then this isn't going to make contact with the back of the plate. So let's give that a go. Make sure the wire is poking back up through the wheel. There we go, cranked it up nice and tight. Okay, so with the engine running, just started that so I can turn the wheel easily with power steering. Just want to make sure that that contact is touching the wheel all the way around now. Which it does appear to be. That's good, so it's touching all the way around. I've cleaned up the contacts. Let's give the horn a test. Right, so try again. Plug these wires back into the back of the horn button. Perfect, all done. So that seems to be, now that the horn is working properly, fix that issue there. You may find that on the back of your horn on different cars, that you only have one wire here. That's not the end of the world, because as you can see, this grounding wire is only connected to the hub, and then that goes down through and grounds through the steering shaft. So like I said, the main one that sort of is the wire here. So you've only got one wire, that's fine, and then it'll normally ground out onto the wheel anyway. So it's the same concept, but that's it. So we've got a working horn. Now we can get on with putting the new wheel on. We've got some nice new countersunk bolts to go on with the new wheel. And these will fit in much nicer and flat compared to the old hex head bolts. So we'll just reconnect that horn button as we did before. So as you saw before, we had a Momo or fake Momo steering wheel on. Now we're going with a Nardi steering wheel. They do have different PCDs, the stud pattern, the patterns for the bolts between the two brands. It's pretty common for hubs to have multiple drill outs to fit different wheels, and the same for this horn button as well. So it's a case of lining it up with the correct ones and then putting the wheel on top. Hopefully that looks like it's all good. Just get a couple of these in. It's a bit fiddly. First one is done. Just get one more in and that holds it all sort of fairly straight. Just gonna, before I tighten anything else up, just check the horn still works. It does, that's always a good thing, rather than putting it all back together and then realising you need to undo it again. So there we go, one beautiful, or soon to be in the future, beautiful gnarly steering wheel once that's been refurbished. Replacement horn button. The only thing we're missing is the ring that goes around the outside of the wheel there, the horn trim. Quite elusive and difficult to get hold of, but if I see one come up on eBay, I'll pick it up. Or if anyone out there in the world has got one, or they'd love to donate one, or chuck me a price for one, drop a little comment below, and maybe we can get in touch and I can get one of them from you. That'd be great. Just finish it off nicely. Okay team, so I'm not going to lie, that was a bit too much of an easy fix for my liking. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit more difficult so I could really get into it and show you some of the other issues that you might have with your horn system. But because we haven't, I've come inside here, I've grabbed some pen and paper, and we're going to have a little look at some of the other bits to do with horns. So let's start with the wiring diagram for the horn. Horn systems don't change that much between different models of cars, they're all pretty similar. So what you have first is a fuse, normally 10 amps, something like that. You'll have power coming into that, and then that power will go through the fuse and it will go to a relay. And then sometimes what you find is there'll be one power source, sometimes there's two coming in, they'll split the power and go into the relay. And then you have two circuits coming out of the relay. You'll have the one that goes down towards the horn, which is sometimes, of course, two horns. You normally got two of these, so let's just draw another one of those there, make it nice and simple. Go. Sorry for my terrible drawing. And then that will come across to there. And then you have that coming across to an earth point. And that one across to an earth point as well. And then on the top part of the circuit where the switch is, you'll have, let's bring this wire out. Say it comes around to a switch on the steering wheel. And then that goes to earth as well. Now on my car today what we saw was this was the red wire, this was the white wire, but those wires can of course be any colour. It depends on what car you've got. Like I said, not just MX-5s, any cars really. So just make sure you check a wiring diagram to see what's going on with those wire colours. Like I said, you might not have a white wire at all. That might just be the steering wheel, the inside of it which just grounds and completes the circuit. So when you press the horn button here, what you get is power. It closes this circuit for here, it fires this relay, and then you get your horns working. Now if anything goes wrong with your horn system, obviously mine was here in the horn here, there's a number of things you can check. As I mentioned before in the video, check the relay, normally 10 amps, so it can be underneath the dash, it can be under the bonnet, just check where it is. You can check the relay, you can check the horns and things, and you can just check the wiring. Like I said, it's all of those things can be checked, and like I said, really what you've got is just a couple of wires, a couple of horns, a relay, a switch, and a fuse. So now that you've seen how horn systems work, if you've traced everything down, you cannot work out what it is and why it's not working, just start from fresh. All you'll need is a fuse and fuse holder, a relay, some wire, a button and a new horn, and then you can follow the diagram that I've already drawn here and you'll be able to put your own horn system together, completely fresh, completely different. You don't even have to touch the old wiring that's already in the car, simple as that. And that's the great thing about wiring. A lot of people get very concerned about it, they get a bit nervous about it, but really it's quite straightforward when you break it down. Remember, the horn button doesn't have to be in the centre of the steering wheel. You can just get any old cheap push button, mount it somewhere in the dash, as long as it's within sort of reach distance and it's labelled horn, and that is absolutely acceptable from an MOT point of view. So there we go, team. New steering wheel's on, horn's working, perfect job. MOT pass, that's all good to go now. Don't forget, if you like what you saw today and you want to support us, check out our website, flowperformance.co.uk. Get some awesome merch. We've got all sorts of bits. We've got some stickers, we've got the Japanese number plates on there. We'll be adding some new stuff in the future as well. Also, if you enjoyed this video today and like to see more in the future, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.